Welcome back to another episode of the MacRumors Show. Hartley, good afternoon. How's it going, man? How's this last week been for you?
It's been very busy. This felt like a particularly packed event, so going through everything afterwards, there was just more and more layers and more detail. I feel like a lot more was announced than normal, actually, for this sort of event.
Interesting you say that. I feel like we'll get into it because there were some things that I wasn't really expecting. Maybe at the end of the episode, we should do like a fun little report card thing and go through what we got right and what we didn't. But I feel like, as usual, we're right around that like 80% mark. I feel like we got 80 or 90% of the things that we were really, ultimately expecting, not the stuff that we thought were a long shot. Sorry if my voice sounds a little weird or congested. I don't know how many people know, but I was supposed to be at the event, and then I got COVID at like the worst possible time to get it. Feeling good though, but just bummed. And also different background for those watching on YouTube. Might not be a permanent thing, but some changes. Speaking of changes, we got a lot of new things at the event, and we'll try to briefly go and keep these episodes short. But like we said, with some of these, event recaps and things where we actually have a lot of news to talk about, it might stretch over the goal that we want to do for episodes now. But all right, let's just start with, they jumped right into the Apple Watch, and I'm surprised by that, but they went right into Series 10. Is it just me, or does Series 10 really not seem like there's any reason to grab unless you have like a very old Apple Watch?
I have mixed feelings about it because when it was announced, I felt like it was a significant announcment.
Same.
I feel like the redesign goes further than I was expecting. And there are some nice features here that are basic quality of life improvements, like the ability to play audio through the speaker. It's a very small thing, but there have been occasions over the years when I've wished I was able to do that. When my iPhone wasn't to hand, I didn't have my AirPods to hand, but I wanted to listen to a podcast or something just while I'm walking around the house. So there were things like that. I like the new design. It is a new design. I know it's an iteration on the existing design, but each Apple Watch design has lingered for 3 generations. This is a new casing. And I'd argue that it's probably the most significant redesign since the Series 4. I think this is more significant than the Series 7 was over the Series 6. I think it's one of those things that probably will look more different in person. We've also got that new jet black finish, new titanium finishes as well. So even in terms of the way that the casings just look and color options, that's quite different too. But then as time has gone since the event, and I've been looking at the actual list of features, I have been a little bit underwhelmed. And even with something like sleep apnea detection, which is a good, solid new health feature,
not
that
exclusive,
also comes to the Series 9, which is good because we often complain that Apple doesn't bring software features to older models. So that is a positive thing. It just means that it's one thing that is less special about the Series 10. So what did you think?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I do. The design when I first saw it. So when you first saw it, revealed, did you think that it looked drastically different, or you recognize that it was a new design? Because honestly, I was struggling to see it, and then I saw real world people going hands on with it, and then I'm like, okay, I can see it a little bit more. But yeah, I didn't really get that. Whoa, this is pretty different. It's just oh no, that looks kind of the same. They made the screen bigger than it's the biggest screen on any Apple Watch, correct? It's a little bit a fraction bigger than the Ultra.
Yes, that's right. The 46 millimeter model is slightly larger.
Yeah.
I think the new design is a good iteration.
I think it looks good.
And I think all in all, you could unpack quite a lot that's different with this design. It's just not necessarily anything that's going to feel radically different because it's the same basic shape. But when you actually unpack the individual parts of this design, it's significantly different. For example, the speaker on the Series 10 looks more different than any speaker on any previous Apple Watch, standard line Apple Watch. Likewise, the aspect ratio has changed. So it's actually wider now. It's not just taller. The bezels have got larger than last year's model, which looks a bit strange, but the overall screen to body ratio is bigger. So the screen extends more over the sides. And I bet that that's because these bezels will get slimmer. And that means they don't need to change the casing next year or the year after.
Right. I was wondering why they made those bezels so chunky.
Even the digital crown is different now. It's a slightly different design. They don't have the red ring to denote a cellular model anymore. And of course, it is thinner as well. Even the back casing is a different material. It's no longer this ceramic and glass hybrid. Now it is a metal back that has new components integrated into it. It has a larger charging coil. So there is quite a lot that's different. From an engineering perspective, it's just not necessarily visually a massive difference. I think if someone had one Apple Watch on their wrist and another, a Series 9 and a Series 10, you would have to look quite closely, if they don't have the jet black color option, to be able to tell which model they have. But if I'm looking at them close up, I can tell the differences pretty clearly.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you went man on the street and held up one in one hand, one on the other, and flash it to somebody, be like, hey, which one? Are these both Apple Watches? Yes or no? I'm guessing everyone would be like, yeah, obviously. And do you notice anything different? I don't think anybody right away would notice unless they're like holding it in hand and stuff like that. But that's fine. This isn't obviously a watch for somebody who has an Ultra or, I mean, I guess maybe if you have the Ultra 1, because I'm assuming the sleep apnea is not coming down to that one, right? It's just the 2, and it's the Series 9. So if you have those 2 watches, it's probably not worth upgrading. But I think once you start getting older, maybe like 6 or 7, it's going to be significantly, I would say, improved in performance. There's just going to be those extra features that we just talked about, the new finish. Speaking of the finish, what did you think about no more stainless steel? Now we have titanium, because I know you're such a big stainless steel fan. Because it's glossy, do you like that? Because it kind of still resembles.
I have good things to say about it and bad things to say about it.
Okay, start with the bad.
You're not going to be able to buff those scratches out in the same way you can on the stainless steel model. On the stainless steel model, you can actually remove the scratches from it if you have the silver model, because it is like a normal watch casing that you would get on a high-end luxury watch. And also, stainless steel is a much harder material to scratch than titanium. So those are the downsides. But the upsides are it is significantly lighter. And when I started wearing a stainless steel Apple Watch, I was very aware of just how much heavier it is. Yeah. So there is a significant reduction in weight. So that's good. And also the finishes do look slightly different. And that is refreshing, I suppose. I quite like the new stainless steel bands that are designed to match the new titanium casings.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. But
yeah,
so the new bands are nice for sure. What about the? Go ahead.
I really like the jet black casing option. I think that is going to be the most popular casing by far. This was such a popular color option with the iPhone 7. I never really expected that to come back. The exact same finish in the exact same way. But here it is. Now, the only issue with that is that I don't know if you had that device back in the day, but it's scratched so easily.
Oh, I did.
So easily.
I hated myself for getting that one.
So I don't know how well this is going to fare, especially when you think that you're going to have, every time you like open a zipper or you have your sleeve or buttons or whatever it may be that inevitably you scratch your watch against, that is not going to look fantastic. But at least when it's new out the box, it will look really, really nice.
Yeah, it's very sleek. So is the new Apple Watch Ultra 2 color. That was, I mean, it wasn't unexpected, but like, I don't know that we necessarily were expecting that to be like 100% sure that was going to happen. And then they just dropped it. Basically looked like all the renders that people made when people were clamoring for a darker color when they first announced it. So now there's a darker Apple Watch Ultra color. By the way, you can do the speaker. You can play music through the speaker on the Ultra as well. So I'm guessing that's just a watchOS uh, 11 thing for compatible watches.
Well, here's the thing. This is arbitrary in software because right
Oh,
now
yeah.
on my Apple Watch Series 8, I can listen to audio through the speaker. Anyone can. If you go to Shazam and if you play a song back through Shazam, you can
That's
listen.
so weird.
So you can't listen to an entire song or an entire podcast. So it does seem to be arbitrary. But I think what's really interesting here is Apple really did not need to release an Apple Watch Ultra 3. That is why I know we were expecting one, because we were expecting some of these health features to be exclusive to the Series 10. And we were thinking, well, if they're going to be exclusive to the Series 10, you've got to have an Ultra that is on the same level as the main Apple Watch series. You can't have the main Apple Watch series have superior features,
Right.
but it doesn't. And that's why they brought it to the Ultra 2. And the reason that they're able to do that as well is because the S10 chip is not faster than the S9 chip. It is just smaller. So they have the same power. The Ultra 2 is equivalent to the Series 10. So it just wasn't necessary to introduce an Ultra 3. What features would it have had?
Right.
So I think that's interesting to consider as well.
We didn't get the hypertension. We didn't really get any other new features besides sleep apnea, which, again, if you have an Apple Watch Series 9 or an Ultra 2, you will get that. And so I wanted to ask you to get some clarification on sleep apnea. Does it take 30 days for it to then give you that, or does it tell you every night whether there are breathing disturbances?
I'm not entirely clear on that. I mean, I think it's picking up different metrics here in the same way that the body temperature sensor that was introduced in the Series 8 can provide you with a range of different health metrics in the health app. I think that this is the same thing. But yeah, it's a good feature.
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite as exciting as something like hypertension detection would have been.
Yeah.
In the same way that body temperature detection was not as exciting as ECG was, because some health features just feel a little cooler than others. I think the real health feature that was the exciting moment of this event was the 3 different new features for AirPods Pro with hearing protection, hearing aids, and hearing tests.
Yep, I was just going to get into that. So, I mean, that's basically the watch. We didn't get an Apple Watch SE, so we can move right into AirPods, which is what Apple did. But we'll start with the AirPods Pro because you just mentioned those health features. To reiterate, because I think I've seen a lot of misinformation or just people not sure, you do not need to buy another pair of AirPods Pro. It's just a software update that will be coming to the AirPods Pro 2 whenever it hits. I don't know when. You'll be getting those 3 features. So there's hearing protection, which basically just turns your AirPods into fancy earplugs, which is great. We talked about this before. We thought we could already kind of do that, and now it just becomes an official thing, and it works hopefully better than how we're anticipating it. You pop them in your ears. If you're at like a concert, something I do quite a bit, it'll be able to adjust and protect your ears from any damage, which I definitely need. And then if you're somebody like me who thinks your hearing is messed up, you can take a hearing test, and it'll give you all of the metrics and give you the data that you need to compare to make sure that your hearing is in line with probably where it needs to be at whatever age you are. And if it's not, it'll take that data and then basically create a hearing aid for you and help you boost the levels that you need to be able to hear. And that's insane. And they kept saying clinical grade. So, I mean, like, if you have a pair of AirPods and you're somebody out there who, no matter what your age is, but if you're slightly older and you got AirPods Pro and you're thinking about getting a hearing aid because you can't hear as well anymore, you kind of don't need to. You can just use your AirPods. And that's just wild to me. So is this something that could be covered under insurance then too in the future or now?
I'm not sure. I mean, it is effectively an equivalent to an actual off-the-shelf hearing aid solution, which I think is really impressive for a lot of reasons. I think, first of all, because if you have an AirPods Pro are only becoming more ubiquitous, you already have something that you can use. And also, crucially, it's something that's less stigmatized as well. So if you feel self-conscious about wearing a hearing aid, now people simply won't know if you just have your AirPods Pro in a lot of the time. And if it is for mild hearing loss, and maybe you don't actually need it all the time, a brilliant solution with AirPods, because of course you have the charging case. Chances are you have them already to listen to music.
Yeah.
And the other thing I thought was really interesting is that it actually applies
Yep.
the audio adjustments to other things that you may listen to, such as music and TV shows, which of course normal hearing aids won't actually do in quite the same way.
Yeah, it's honestly a brilliant feature that I think needs to be talked about a lot more. And I don't know that there are any other headphone. I mean, maybe there's something out there that I'm just not thinking of. But I mean, this is kind of a huge first for a lot of people out there who could benefit from this, and that's really cool. Yeah, so that's AirPods Pro free update. Do you have something more?
No, I was going to say AirPods 4 is up next.
Oh, yeah. Well, do you want to just knock out AirPods Max real quick? I mean, it's the most infuriating.
We knew it was coming, though.
I know, but it's still infuriating.
I think it is.
I still bought one.
I think it is probably one of the most disappointing updates Apple has ever released.
But we knew it was coming.
We knew. I still think we should call Apple out on this one and say that this really is not an acceptable update, because the first generation AirPods Pro, as we have discussed many times, is not a fantastically strong product and has a lot of issues. It feels like a very rushed product. AirPods
you
Max.
Said Pro. AirPods Pro are great.
I like the AirPods Pro. I like the AirPods Pro. I've got no issues with the AirPods Pro.
And we like the AirPods Max from a sound quality perspective. It's not
I
like
the AirPods Max from a sound quality and from an active noise cancellation perspective.
Sure.
But as we've discussed many times, the smart case is a disaster. They're too heavy. They're not comfortable. The lack of an off switch is frustrating. The canopy design is ridiculous. The list goes on. And they're also not particularly reliable. But that aside, to release this update effectively 4 years after the first generation model, and the only differences are USB-C and color options. And I actually would go as far as to say I don't think the color options are that great.
But there's an orange one.
I don't think it's a great orange.
It's not a good orange. I bought it, and now I'm considering just not doing that one anymore because it's not that great.
And I think it's slightly strange to be introducing Starlight when they're phasing out Starlight on other devices. There's no longer any Starlight iPhones. There's no longer any Starlight Apple Watches. So at least not in terms of the main Apple Watches.
But there's the Starlight MacBooks. So maybe they're like, I don't know. Here's what I'm going to say about this. It's infuriating for people like us who wanted, more. And honestly, it deserves to be updated. But my guess is the people who are buying AirPods Max care about the look and the design and how it looks, which also is a good thing. It does look good. It does look really nice. They're very stylish. These colors are refreshed now. There are different colors for those who maybe didn't like the original ones. Which of the new colors do you like the most?
Maybe the midnight.
Yeah, that's the one that I think. But it's boring. So I bought the orange for the sake of a video, so it pops. And I was thinking of replacing it with the ear cups that I have for the black one. And I think that might look okay. But I wasn't particularly thrilled about that color. I think the purple one honestly looks kind of cool.
The purple ones aren't bad. It's I don't think
the blue's fine.
The look of the AirPods Max is not the issue with them. I think the reason why, even for someone that is just wanting good headphones, there are better options at lower price points. This is even clear just from looking at Apple's own AirPods lineup, because now the AirPods Pro for well over 2 years now has had a superior chip, superior noise cancellation technology. I know that the noise cancellation may seem better because you've got an over-ear setup, but even little things like on your AirPods, your standard AirPods and your AirPods Pro, you can invoke Siri by just saying Siri. You can't do that on the AirPods Max, even the new ones. you have to still say, hey, Siri, because it is an older chip that does not support the newer command. So that is, it is just ridiculous. It's laughable that so many of these features that are available on a product that, I mean, I've got my Lightning AirPods Pro 2 here. These are pretty old now. This has significantly better technology than the AirPods Max, even the new ones. So I think that, Apple has announced an awful lot of incredibly impressive technology at this event. But I think that they actually, I think that really they should be a little bit disappointed in themselves for what they've done with the AirPods Max here. I don't think it's actually acceptable.
I'm not gonna hate on it. I do think that they should update these though to get all the tech that is on the AirPods Pro and more if they can very soon. I hope we're not waiting another 4 years. Then I'll be very upset. But what is criminal in my mind is still pricing them at $549. That's absurd.
I think this would have been way more palatable if they had dropped the price with it, because then it would have been an admission that, okay, you know what, these are getting older. So we're going to just drop the price to $349.
$350. Yep, exactly. That is the price point for this.
And that way it could be presented as this is an opportunity for a lot more people to get access to AirPods Max. And I think it could be spun completely differently. But I think the outrageous thing is that these are significantly more expensive than the AirPods Pro. They're twice the price, over twice the price. And yet you are getting basically inferior technology. Okay, the noise cancellation will sound better because of the over-ear nature of them. And okay, because they've got physically larger drivers in, they will sound better. But in every other respect, they are an inferior product. By Apple's own standards. We're not comparing to a rival here. We are comparing to the technology that they themselves have had on the shelf and been selling for 2 years. So disappointing.
All right, well, let's move on to the AirPods 4 real quick. We can spend a couple minutes on this here. But we got the 2 models that we were expecting. Did Apple remove wireless charging from the case for the cheaper one and kept it on or am I going crazy?
I don't believe so.
Okay. I thought I saw something that someone said that the lower model can't wireless charge.
I think the difference is that you can't charge with an Apple Watch charger.
Okay, so that's what they were meaning. Okay,
but I'm not 100% sure if that's correct.
I wanted to look into that. Just remembered, but so it gets the H2 chip. It gets a slightly different design, right?
Yes, it does look slightly different.
It's kind of like the watch in my mind, where I'm like, maybe I'll notice it more when I get them in hand. But
the casing's a slightly different shape. The angle of the cutouts are different. I think if you had them both in your hand, you'd notice. But
that's what I'm thinking.
The main thing about this is you don't really care about how these things look. You care about how they fit. And if this is an improvement in fit, I think that is something that everyone can get on board with.
And it's $129, right, for the lower end.
Yes.
Which basically just gives you the H2 chip, the new fit, the sound improvements, all that stuff. But you won't get apparently. I don't know about the case and the charging part. We'll have to check into that. But you don't get Find My on that case, and you don't get active noise cancellation and transparency, which is what you get on the $179 version.
Is there a Find My difference? I don't think there is.
What do you mean?
I don't think there's a difference with Find My.
Oh, I mean, you don't get the speaker.
Do you not?
I don't think so. They made it a point of emphasis to say that the...
I don't recall that, but maybe I've missed that.
I mean, it's far more possible that I missed that over you.
I mean, it was rumored. It was a rumored thing, but I don't know if
it says as well as a built-in speaker for Find My. AirPods 4 with the active noise cancellation features wireless charging case. See, that's the thing that's why I am questioning this, because when they write this out and when they talked about it, they specifically mentioned that this features a wireless charging case, which is like, okay, didn't it have that before? Why are we talking about that? The smallest in the industry with this capability, as built-in speaker for Find My to help you keep track.
Okay, so you're right. There is no wireless charger on the standard AirPods 4.
Yeah, that's weird.
And let's have a look at Find My, because that may be the one where there is no difference. Okay, so you also don't get Find My on
I
the
see.
low end model.
This is the
So
first time I'm ever
you're
right.
completely right now.
This is the first time. Everyone always calls me out for being wrong, and you're the smart, inquisitive one. We'll take that. I got one right for once. So yeah, I mean that's that. Those are the differences. And the only reason why I'm right is because I've made videos over the last 3 weeks saying the same stuff every time, that it's been ingrained in my brain. And that was the rumor, not necessarily the charging part, but the speaker, or just getting Find My on the case and active noise cancellation were really the only major differences between the two models. So I just kind of believe that to be true. And sometimes when you're doing rumors and reporting on it constantly, you kind of forget which rumors end up becoming true and which ones aren't.
Yeah.
And so you constantly confuse that. And that's where a lot of like, oh, I didn't mean to spread that. That was wrong. I have to like go back and triple check to make sure. But yeah, I mean, it's honestly really well priced. They did a good job with that. I think those are going to be wildly popular. I cannot wait to try them. And they'll probably be the ones that I use moving forward for most situations in life.
I'm really interested to see how different the active noise cancellation on the AirPods 4 is compared to the AirPods Pro, because of course you don't have those in-ear tips. But if it is actually good and quite effective and more comfortable, then I would consider moving away from the AirPods Pro.
That'll have to be one of my videos for sure, putting those up against the AirPods Pro, because you could save quite a bit of money. But now that you get that update with the health features, and if you're somebody who wants to take your hearing, which we all should be taking our hearing seriously, you know, there are benefits. And so it just depends on what's up to you and what you want to spend money on. All right, let's just jump right into the main star of the show as usual, and that's the iPhone. Here's another thing that I've noticed. There's really not a lot of exclusive features that separate the iPhone 16 and the 16 Pro this year. Am I crazy? There's like a couple of things in the camera, but almost everything that Apple emphasized at the keynote can be found on the iPhone 16.
Yes, I think that's true. But what's important to remember is that there are still fundamental differences between the standard and Pro line. And so if Apple adds features equally, so basic stuff like they added the same Wi-Fi specification, so they've both got Wi-Fi 7, they've both got an A18 chip, they've both got visual intelligence, that's fine, because there are still these differences. I mean, one of the most significant differences is now the screen sizes are different.
Yes. And there's that, and I'm just surprised that camera control is not a Pro feature only. That just seems like a slam dunk move for Apple to be like, this is a Pro feature, because oftentimes the better cameras and the better camera features are synonymous with a Pro device. And so I'm happy that they didn't do that. Don't get me wrong. I am not trying to get, you know, the iPhone 16 and 16 Plus users to have one less major feature, but like just thought that that's the direction they would go in, and I'm just shocked they didn't. So thank you. If you're somebody who doesn't want to spend the money on a Pro model, honestly, the iPhone 16, 16 Plus look like great, you know, options. Let's just real quick, 1 minute. Do you find yourself still shaking your head that there's no, it's 60 hertz screen I still see it. It's, once it was announced, the iPhone in 2024 still has a 60 hertz display. How do you feel?
I mean, I think that it is something that is holding a lot of Pro users back from dropping down to the standard models, because right now the standard models are overall a really compelling option, because they've got dynamic island, they've got USB-C, they've got that 48 megapixel camera, now they've even got camera control, and they've got Apple Intelligence. So really they have everything that most Pro users want. Mm-hmm. And next year on the iPhone 17 lineup, because let's go there.
Why not?
we are expecting promotion across the whole lineup. So, you know, if that's the thing that's annoying you this year, just wait another 12 months, because that is one of the things that we have had rumored for a long time. That next year, when they have the iPhone 17 Air, iPhone 17 and iPhone 17 Air, they will both have promotion. So it's not for that much longer.
17 Air. God, I do not like that name at all. I don't know why. Anyways, yeah. So camera control. Let's talk about it because that's probably the most interesting feature. Pretty much works the way we thought. I don't really know what to say about it. Like I want to try it. I'm glad that it can actually launch the camera app. I wasn't like, I mean, it makes sense that it can do that, but I wasn't totally sure because just how well it's gonna like not have accidental touches. But it seems like it can do a lot more. And the one feature that we weren't expecting that I'm just now remembering is that the whole visual intelligence portion of it. That was not something that at least I saw in the rumors that I was using to prep for our videos and stuff. Is that something that you heard through the grapevine when you were doing your research and stuff?
Not specifically. We were expecting some kind of exclusive AI features for the 16 lineup. And of course, that's what this ended up being. And it makes sense that that's integrated with the camera control. Because if it is a unique feature to the iPhone 16 lineup, what better way to justify that?
Is it unique? Or is it just Google Lens?
Well, I mean, in the world of iPhones, I can look at my iPhone 15 Pro here and think, okay, well, it can't run visual intelligence because it doesn't have the camera control. I mean, I know it's ridiculous, but that would be Apple's argument.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense, and there's a lot of functionality built into this button. So,
sure.
I think it's a good feature. I'm looking forward to having it.
Is this not like? I feel like this is what the action button should be able to do, like this type of stuff, like have far more, and I guess we'll get more of that functionality and capabilities once you get iOS 18's control center toggles. There's just way more options available, but I like that there's different gestures that you can do. It pretty much works the way we thought. Although, didn't we kind of assume like it would be like a DSLR where if you like lightly press, it would kind of fix the autofocus and stuff? They didn't say that, so it's possible that it still does that. But
no, it does do that. They announced
it does because they said it just like gave it a clean preview. They didn't really say.
So that's a light touch reveals the new preview view, but they've said that a half press will lock exposure and focus. But that isn't going to be available at launch.
It's not going to be available at launch.
No. So that specific camera control feature is coming later.
Why? How hard is it to get that? It's like got to be like the first thing you work on.
And I don't really understand what the difference is between a light touch and a half press.
It's going to be one of those things we're going to have to feel around.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's going to be 3 stages to it. So a light touch may just be resting your finger on it, and that may remove, that may produce this new overlay or remove certain elements, so you get this clearer view. And then when you press further, you will lock exposure and focus. And then when you press further still, you will actually capture. If you keep your finger held down, then you can record video. So I think there's quite a lot of functionality here. Then when you bear in mind that you can swipe between lenses, you can zoom in and out, and you can move to other different controls in the camera app, like different camera modes. You add visual intelligence to that. You add the fact that you can launch the camera app. So now you can free up your action button. You can free up that lock screen control.
How do you launch visual intelligence?
I also don't understand the difference between...
because it just kind of seems like you take it out and you hold down on the button and it launches visual intelligence. But doesn't that launch the camera app?
Well, what I'm guessing is that it launches a different version of the camera app. With visual intelligence at the forefront. So kind of like, you know how you've got the magnifier app on the iPhone?
Yeah.
That's kind of like the camera, but not. In the same way that you can launch this camera app that's just for QR codes, that's sort of like the camera app, but sort of not. I'm guessing that when you launch the camera from the camera control button from the lock screen, or from when you're elsewhere in the system, that takes you to a version of the camera app where visual intelligence is at the forefront. But if you open the camera app actually normally, then you don't get visual intelligence and the camera control just works without that. That would be my guess.
I suppose that makes some sense. But yeah, I was really confused. I'm like, wait, what? Maybe it's a gesture thing. Maybe you like really hold it down and that brings visual I don't know.
Yeah.
Squeeze the hell out of it. I have no idea. Yeah, I mean, it looks cool. I'm excited to try it. I hope it doesn't end up becoming a gimmick. I mean, I think I'll use it quite a bit, at least for the very basic tasks of launching the camera app, taking a quick photo or a video. That obviously is the most useful thing in my mind. And then they did mention that third-party developers will have access to this, and they showcase Snapchat. Maybe like this will be an easy way for people in TikTok. You know how like it took forever for people to figure out how to do that zoom in. They just like maybe that's what you can use it for. I don't know. There's going to be something that people will use it, and it'll be significantly easier. But yeah, camera control. If you're on the iPhone 16, you'll get the action button from last year's 15 Pro and Pro Max, so that's good. There's new colors. How do you feel about the new colors this year? That's a big topic, as usual with us. So there's ultramarine and teal and pink.
Most people seem to really like the new colors. Personally,
oh boy.
I preferred last year's more plain colors. More
no, those are too. You love the pastels. Those are too boring.
Yeah. But I know that this is a contrarian view right now, so don't pay any attention to what I think.
What about the Pro colors, if you want to call them that?
I like them. They are different to last year. All of them are different to last year.
No way.
They are. All of them.
No, not in my mind. My eyes tell me they're the same, except for Desert Titanium, because that didn't exist.
Yeah, so Desert replaces blue titanium.
Sure.
But
that
the
one
black
makes sense.
is darker. The white is brighter, and the natural is lighter.
Is more natural?
Yeah. So it's a different shade. They are all different shades. Side by side, they do look different.
See, this is where I'm sad that I wasn't on the ground floor holding them in hands and figuring them out. And the other thing was I was really banking on doing that because I wanted to decide, is this a year where I don't go 16 Pro Max? And do I go down to the 6.3? Is that enough for me? Like, that rhymed, by the way. Is that enough? Like, do I need anything bigger? And then they dropped that the iPhone 16 Pro Max is going to be the best battery life in an iPhone ever. And I'm like, well, that's it. That's the one I'm getting. Yeah, there's no other way around it. My battery life is atrocious. So I need every little bit I can get.
You don't know what atrocious battery life even is, Dan.
Well, because you're using the Pro.
Yeah, and mine has to be charged at least twice a day. At least. Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 times a day.
Like full charges, like from zero?
Not from zero, but it frequently I'm dropping under 20%. When I go out, I have to take a battery pack with me most of the time. That's how bad it is. So yeah, I really like the battery life improvements. I think that it's quite impressive that we now have an iPhone with an over 30-hour battery life. That is significant.
Are you going to get it, or are you going to stay with the Pro?
I am tempted to get the Pro Max.
Just try it. 2 weeks.
Because so here's the thing. Occasionally I've had the bigger phone over the years. When I had the iPhone 7 Plus, I loved it. When I had the iPhone XS Max, I hated it.
Yeah, because
I couldn't get rid of that thing fast enough.
You had the greatest phone of all time.
Yeah. But I am thinking now that if I don't have a case, I think that's one of the key differences. I think I can manage the Pro Max. And I think that considering just how much battery life is bothering me now, and literally, when I go out for the day and I think, right, I go out in the morning, I think I'm not going to be back until the evening. I have to take a battery pack with me. There is no question. I have to make sure that I'm fully charged before I leave and take a battery pack. And my battery health is at 90%. It's not that bad. This is a year-old iPhone 15 Pro. So I know that the 16 Pro would be better. I know it would be a fresh battery. I know that there are also some meaningful battery life improvements on that model. It's nearly 20% better. It's actually a better percentage improvement than it is for the Pro Max because it's now 27 hours. But I'm tired of this life with this battery life issue. So I think that it might be time to try the Pro Max this year. Maybe.
I think no case is the right idea. Just buy Apple Care. You'll be fine. Buy Apple Care. Go no case. That is my recommendation for everyone. If you drop your phone and you crack your screen, it's $20. Or is it free? No, it's $20, right? $20 if you crack your screen. I think it's 20. And if you break the entire phone or crack both sides, it's $100. And judging by the fact that prices are $11.99 for the Pro Max starting off, that is 1/12 the price of your iPhone, and it's well worth it. Now I get it. You're adding in a $250 charge or whatever the price is for Apple Care. But again, I do think it's worth it, especially if you're somebody who holds onto their phone if you're upgrading every year and you can be careful, then fine. I've been team no case forever. I always do that though. In the beginning, I always try a case for like when I first get the iPhone, just to like baby it a little bit. But I think this last year was the first year I've never had a case on it for more than a second, or during like tests and reviews. But I haven't even been doing it when I travel. Remember that weird quirk that I would do where I'd put the case on when I'm on a plane for some weird reason? Nah, I don't even care anymore. Whatever. What about what else was there? I don't even remember. There's the what color are you going to get for the Pro? You didn't tell me that.
Well, it won't surprise you to know that I will get the same color that I have on my iPhone.
Man, come on.
15 Pro.
What is wrong with you? Try something new. Spice it up.
I'm not interested in desert titanium. I'm not a gold person. I don't have anything in gold.
I'm not a gold person.
I had white iPhones for years. But before that, I had years of space gray and black. So the natural titanium still feels quite new to me. And I really like the natural titanium.
I
it is
do
my
too.
favorite iPhone color for
I agree.
Probably since the black iPhone 7. So I'm completely happy with the color. And since I've been having a case for the past year, if I have no case with the natural titanium, it's going to feel like a new color to me. So yeah, that's probably will be what I do.
Boring. I'm gonna get the desert. Why not? I want to try something new.
It's a good color. It looks really good.
Or I'll return it 2 weeks later and get the black. I don't know. It's what
You probably will do that.
It's a trial period. I'm still getting another one. It's fine. All right. So what else are you enjoying with the new lineup? Pick your poison. I think they're both the same to me, really, with some minor differences.
I think the new displays and the slimmer bezels look really good. I was expecting them to look gargantuan. And look really ridiculous, but actually it's a very, very minor increase for a decent increase in display size. So I'm actually more okay with it than I was expecting. And there are some camera improvements here. Now, I don't think that for me, this is actually going to make any difference because I don't really like the ultra wide camera. I don't really use it very often.
But maybe you will now. I won't use it. I'm just going to be honest with you.
I've used it more over the last year, in fairness. There have been more situations when I've wanted to use it, but it just never looks that good. And I know now, obviously, it will look better with 48 megapixel, but there are the scenarios when you would want to use an ultra-wide just don't happen very often.
Yeah.
So I'm not super excited about that, although I am intrigued by the new photographic styles. Which I know that no one cares about.
No, they could be good, though. It could be really advanced filtering.
I liked the photographic styles concept when it was unveiled with the iPhone 13 lineup.
Yeah, but they were all bad.
And I've revisited it over the years and turned it on now and again because I tend to like slightly warmer looking photos. So I tend to think, okay, well, I'll turn that on and then all my photos will have this look. But then it never looks right. The thing I like about the new photographic styles is that you can actually control a lot more deeply what these look like, and it applies it to a lot more parts of the image. And you can also add it afterwards like a filter. So if I can add it afterwards, I guess I can also remove it afterwards, which means I can leave it on by default. It will apply to everything. And that is a good change for me. I don't think it's going to mean that the iPhone 16 models are going to fly off the shelves because of the new photographic styles, but
no,
it's something.
And I'm going to keep pointing them out. That's another feature that is not Pro exclusive. That will come to both of them.
Another one that is not Pro exclusive is the faster charging.
Oh, okay, that's good because they kind of only announced that during the Pro portion. So I was confused if that was going to be something that got just relegated to the Pros only. So what is the increase? 25 or 20?
So for MagSafe charging, you can now charge at 25 watts, which is...
So that's up from 15. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a significant increase. That's about 66%.
Okay.
And You need a 30-watt adapter to do that. But more significantly, and this actually Apple did not announce, this has only emerged today as we're recording this, but the wired charging is also significantly faster. You can now charge with a wired connection at up to 45 watts on both models. Previously, you could only do up to about 25 or 27. So that is a huge increase again. So these should charge significantly faster than any previous iPhone.
And that's across the entire lineup, Qi 2 and all. Nice. That's good. Yeah. It's again, it's just like the only thing that's preventing people from dropping maybe the telephoto lens, which you're probably super bummed about because now it's the 120 millimeters. And
it's growing on me. Okay. It's growing on me.
Okay. Well, you're not going to have a choice this year, so
I know.
You better allow it to grow on you.
I will be more excited next year. I think that one thing that maybe we should mention as we sort of bring this discussion to a close is a lot of people are not upgrading to the iPhone 16 lineup, and that's okay because there is a lot to look forward to with the iPhone 17 lineup, and I think that actually the iPhone 16 lineup, Apple doesn't use S years anymore. It wasn't great from a marketing perspective because they knew that they were kind of suppressing sales by admitting that they were minor upgrades with S years. But we all know that the iPhone 13 Pro was basically the same as the iPhone 12 Pro with some minor changes. The iPhone 16s are the same as the iPhone 15s, but with some minor changes. Nothing radical is happening here. Next year will be significant for both models because we are expecting a smaller dynamic island. We are expecting ProMotion on the standard models. We're expecting the new 17 Air to replace the 16 Plus with this significantly thinner design. And even in terms of camera improvements, they should be way more impactful because all of the front-facing cameras next year are doubling in resolution to 24 megapixels. So for any content creation that you do, any selfies you take, I bet you use that front-facing camera a lot more than you use the ultra-wide. So
yes,
that is really a great change coming next year. And also, we're getting 48 megapixels across all three rear cameras. So these are some of the things that we are expecting next year. There is obviously more in the pipeline. It's still early for all of this. Mm-hmm. But if you are considering whether you should get the 16 Pro or 16, or whether you should wait for next year, I think regardless of whether you're looking at the Pro or non-Pro models, if you're in that predicament, chances are it is worth waiting. Unless you are either going to know that you have an older model and this is the year to upgrade. But if you have doubts, in my mind, it is absolutely going to be worth waiting. Whether that's because you're going to next year get the 17 Pro Max with the smaller dynamic island where Face ID is under the display, or whether it's because you're going to get the 17 Plus next year with the single next generation Fusion camera and the ProMotion on the standard line. And next year, the discussion we're going to have is about how loads of people are moving down to the standard line because that's the new interesting thing. Meanwhile, the cameras are going to be significantly better on the Pros. So it's okay if you don't get it this year, is what I would say.
Just replace your battery, people. Just make it one more year. Replace your battery. That's probably the biggest thing that's driving you insane right now, if I had to guess. My guess is a lot of those older phones and people are ready. If you want to get something new, then get something new. But if you're like, I think I can make it one more year, but man, my battery life is just so just spend the $60, I believe it costs to get it replaced, and just replace your battery and thank me later because you'll be perfectly fine with moving forward. And then next year you'll get Apple Intelligence when it's fully fleshed out a little bit more and all the features are hopefully available. Let's real quick, by the way, they did officially announce that it's going to be in October. But we don't know exactly what. I'm guessing it's the same that we kind of got early in the beta. Image Playground and Genmoji. I don't know when those are coming. So hopefully soon. Hopefully before the end of the year, or at least in beta, we'll see it. But yeah, I mean, there's probably more, and we'll get to more. We'll do the hands-on talk and everything in the next coming weeks. But yeah, that's kind of the whole event in a nutshell. A lot of people thought it was boring. I always think the events are kind of boring just because not I mean this in a very respectful way, not like boring as in like Apple's production is, that's what keeps me hooked in, is just how good everything is in the videos and the production quality and just the way the presenters present the
And
information.
this event was shot on iPhone as well. This is the first
Yeah.
iPhone event that was shot on an iPhone.
And I keep forgetting that because it all just looks incredible. But I'm just bored because we know everything that's going to happen for the most part. There's not a lot of surprises.
We work in rumors, Dan. This is what we do.
I know. So that's why I'm saying, to me it was boring, but I don't know why other people who don't do this for a living thought it was boring. I don't know. Like, I've had friends that were like, kind of underwhelmed. And I'm like,
that has been what people have been saying to me. Personally, I feel like this was a more interesting iPhone event than usual because I was very interested in the hearing aid stuff. I was interested in how AirPods 4 were positioned. I was very interested in the Apple Watch Series 10. I was very intrigued by the design changes that I think are more significant, as I said earlier, than people are giving it credit for. And I'm always interested in the features that were not rumored. So, for example, the audio mix feature, I thought that was quite interesting. And I will use that, actually.
You will?
I think so. There are situations when you take video and you want to isolate noise.
Sure.
And you just want to do that on the go. That's happened plenty of times.
Sure.
So I'm always intrigued by those things. So I enjoyed the event. But I will admit, and just to go back to what I was saying before, just so I'm not being a complete hypocrite here, I do intend to get an iPhone 16 Pro model. But I am only doing that because I'm upgrading from the 15 Pro to the Pro Max. If I was not going to the Pro Max and I was going to the Pro, I would not upgrade. It's only because I'm moving across models that I think it's justifiable for me personally.
We'll allow it. We'll allow it. It's okay. You can be spared the criticism for this one. Real quick, what did we get wrong?
Well, we were expecting the Apple Watch SE.
Yeah, okay.
So there was no Apple Watch SE.
Nope. That's really it. I mean, like, in terms of like major things, I guess the AirPods Pro health features were rumored, but I just didn't expect those to be today, or during the event, right?
It wasn't clear if sleep apnea would happen at all. So
no,
it's
but that was one that we were, expecting.
It was rumored, but it was one of these things where at the last minute it wasn't clear if they were going to make it because of blood oxygen
and the hypertension thing. So technically, we were reporting that both were on the horizon. We weren't saying for sure, but we were, saying that had the possibility, and so we got 1 out of 2. But like nothing egregious. There's nothing that we were like, this is happening, and then it just didn't happen. So overall, I would say I'd give us a B+. I think that's pretty good, right?
I think the rumor cycle was pretty spot on with this. I mean, even we have to flag sometimes where things have been known really far in advance. But it was actually over a year ago, well over a year ago, that Ming-Chi Kuo said there will be no Apple Watch Ultra 3 next year. And everyone said, oh, that makes no sense because they wouldn't upgrade one without upgrading the other because one will have a newer chip than the other and they would never do that. And this is a fake rumor. And, Ming-Chi Kuo must be laughing now because he called that like 14 months in advance.
Yeah.
I remember us discussing it around that time. And sometimes we really do know about these things well in advance. That's why, although I already can see people getting frustrated with me for talking about the iPhone 17 lineup, and people in the comments on MacRumors tend to get quite annoyed when we start posting those articles at this time of year.
The whole point of what we do.
Because people say, oh no, but just let me enjoy my iPhone 16 Pro. Don't spoil the iPhone 17 Pro for me already. Just let me enjoy it for 5 minutes. And I'm very happy for you if you're looking forward to the iPhone 16 Pro. But what you have to remember is that there are a lot of people that are holding off on upgrading.
Right.
And also,
so we do
have accurate information about what to expect already. So if you are weighing up whether to go for this year or next year, that is good to know. Because if, like I say, with camera improvements, if you're looking at this year's camera improvements versus next year's camera improvements, next year is the one to go for. There is no question. And that is because we do tend to know things in advance. We don't get it all right. Things change. We were expecting the SE. We were actually expecting a new Ultra, at least in the rumor cycle, up until a few days before it sort of re-emerged in terms of what we were expecting. But on the whole, usually the rumor cycle is largely correct.
All right. Well, there you go. Let us know in the comments if you are planning to pre-order. By the time you listen to this and you're like, oh, yeah, I want to pre-order an iPhone for launch day, you are a few hours late, so you better just pause it and immediately go and order if you want to pick it up. I don't know that there's going to be crazy, they always do. The shipping dates always slip back for some reason every single year without fail, whether you think this is worth it or not. But I'm like 99% sure that if there's a specific model that you want and you didn't get a chance to get it for launch day for pickup or something, you could probably go to any Apple store if you get there early enough and get what you're looking for. But I always say, if you know what you want, just pre-order it. Pre-orders open up tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern time. So, yeah, go pre-order this and let us know what you get. I'm curious. And we'll see everybody next week.